Fiesta Battle of the Bands competition. The Navarro Panther is first in the Battle of the Bands competition and also received the first place celebration music grant for the outstanding performance. This is truly an amazing accomplishment, and we are so proud of you all. Next, we'd like to bring one of our Navarro Intermediate students to the stage, Dylan Rogers. Dylan was one of the top 10 students raising donations for the American Heart Association through Kids Heart Challenge in San Antonio area for the 23-24 school year. Dylan raised $1,385 that will be invested in critical research, medical procedures, and devices that help save lives to improve lifestyles and individuals living with cardiac disease and stroke. It will also provide education and inspire people across San Antonio to improve their habits and be healthier. Congratulations, Dylan, and thank you for pouring your heart into our important mission. So Dylan, stay there for just 1 second because you have a special guest here.
Stay right here.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Niesman, Director of Development for the American Heart Association North San Antonio Division, and this is Amy Newman, our Senior Vice President of the Southwest Region, and we're truly honored to be here tonight to celebrate the remarkable achievements within your school community. First and foremost, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Navarro ISD, its dedicated administrators, your intermediate PE teachers, Kaylee Williams and Emily Flores. Their unwavering dedication to your students is truly inspiring, and it's clear that their efforts are making a profound impact. Now let's shift our focus to the star of the evening, Dylan Rogers. Dylan, you're an absolute inspiration. Your dedication, leadership, and compassion are wonderful. And your achievement as the number 10 fundraising student in the San Antonio region is a testament to your hard work and the support of your community. As Dylan's family shared, our success and selflessness are driven by the values and principles instilled by the administration and teachers of Navarro Intermediate School. As a representative of the AHA, we couldn't be prouder to witness young individuals like Dylan making a difference in the lives of others. Your efforts are not only support critical research and education, but also inspire countless others to join the fight against heart disease and stroke. Dylan, on behalf of the American Heart Association and everyone gathered here tonight, we want to extend our heartfelt congratulations. Your dedication to the Kids Heart Challenge program and your commitment to making a positive impact are truly commendable. Thank you for allowing us to share in this special moment. Here's to Dylan, here's to Navarro ISD, and here's to the incredible things we can achieve when we come together with purpose and passion.
Our final recognition tonight, we would like to recognize the following FFA teams that qualified for state: Range, Floral, Farm Business Management, Plant ID, and Agronomy. These students have worked hard all year long and have received some well-deserved awards and recognition along the way for all their hard work and dedication that they've put in this year and some of them over the past several years to get to this level. For Farm Business, the Farm Business Management team qualified for state, placing first in our district and fourth at the area contest in early April. The team placed 29th at the state contest in late April out of the top 60 teams in the state. Team members include Jacob Ronnie, Avery Cisak, Riley Trost, and Weston Wardell. The Floriculture Evaluation team qualified for state after placing first in our district and third at the area contest in early April. The team placed 8th in the state contest in late April out of the top 65 teams in the state. This team included Justin Ronnie, Faith Castillo, Abigail Pollock, and Randall Waxter. The Range Management team qualified for state after placing first in district, 7th in area, and 34th at state. Justin Ronnie, Faith Castillo, Kindlin Pruitt, and Randall Waxter were a part of that team. And the agronomy team placed 2nd in district, 8th in area, and 16th at the state contest out of 34 teams. That team consisted of Jacob Ronnie, Justin Ronnie, Faith Castillo, Ryan Trost. And last but definitely not least, the Plant ID team placed 1st in district, 5th in area, and 30th out of 54 teams at the state contest. Those team members included Abigail Burt, Abigail Pollock, Kindlin Pruitt, and Randall Waxter.
Okay, moving on to public participation. Okay. So then we'll go ahead and move into the construction update by AGCM.
Hello?
Good evening, President Rayfield, members of the board, Mrs. Epley. I have incredible news this month. On average, we're looking at 55 to 60 people working out on the site. And as I tell you every month, when I submit this on the Thursday before, tonight it's already outdated. So just know that what you're looking at is extreme progress. You can see here we have exterior walls going up. The framers are working both on the exterior and in the interior. As of today, the corridors on the first floor and restrooms are framed. They've actually framed a storage room on this end of the building, on the north end of the building, in which now, I was telling Clint earlier, when I walk in to take pictures, I'm like, I have to plan my exit through the building. There's just so much framing and things going on. It's incredible. The plumbers, electricians. Here you can see the ductwork. Nothing looks like this on the inside anymore. There's metal framing, and that's a restroom that you're looking at there. So that's all framed out. There's plumbing pipes in the ceilings as well as all the ductwork. There's electrical conduit up there now. This is the second floor. We poured the final portion last Friday. So all the concrete slab on metal deck is complete. Today the steel workers and plumbers are up there starting to clean out their sleeves to start connecting the plumbing from the first floor up through the second floor. The large masonry wall, which you can pretty much see from the road, if you haven't noticed it yet, you will now. So that was completed, and that's the firewall between the second story classroom wing area and then the open area and administrative to the rest of the school. We're looking over the competition gym floor towards the school, so we're kind of in the back of the school from this picture. Excavation for underground is now moved into area G, which we have H is our last letter, so G, we're getting into the dressing rooms, PE locker rooms, weight room. In the background there is the band hall and the dance area. We poured the band floor last Thursday morning. So we now have, that's actually the stage you're looking at, and then the band hall is to the left there. This is actually the excavation to the locker rooms. Like I said, is outdated. There's pipes coming out of all this now as of today, actually as of Friday. So I tried to do my best highlighting. This is all the building pad that we have poured to date. So to the left there is the CTE, which I said is area F. Just above that, right under my word date there, that's area G, locker rooms, weight room. And then we go into the practice gym. And now the subfloor for the competition gym, that's been poured. We still have stem walls and things that have to tie into everything else. But we're like 62% complete on building pad as of today. This is looking, coming from, like when you're coming into the school from Link Road. So at this intersection, if you turn right, you'll be going to the back of the school. It's where the buses will line up. If you go straight, you're going to the ag barn. So they'll be pouring this here in the next few weeks. This is looking from the second floor north out of the building. That's the beginning part of the drive for the student parking lot, which will be to the right, and they've got a lot of that rebar in, looking to pour next portion of that parking lot on Wednesday. So our house is gone, trees have been removed, and we're digging down drainage. They gotta go down 4.5 feet, getting ready to put those box culverts there in for our main entry. GVEC has set our primary power, so that's them there on the pads. The two little pictures down on the bottom left, those are the temp panels that they're setting out on site, so we'll actually have power for all the sets. They won't need generators coming here in the next week or two. So that's big time. A lot of our jobs, people are waiting a year for power, so we planned it well when we bought it out in June. GVEC has been fantastic. They got it there, so we're waiting for them to fire up so we can turn on temp power. Looking back again, as I usually do, this was our building pad excavation. So this is what it looks like as of last week. You can see the classroom portion, the bottom middle there, that's your administrative wing. To the left, what's in green, that's what we poured on Thursday. That's the band hall and the stage. So it's really coming along. Construction updates, we're still working on traffic signal. It's back in the city's hands. We've given them a response. Bartlett Cox met with TxDOT last Thursday, so we're trying to kind of push it in such a way that we can get going and get the power lines and things moved so they can finish that main entrance. Bartlett Cox's goal is to get that main entrance, try to get that traffic signal all this summer before school, while school is out. Our FF&E is out. Our RFQ is due on the 23rd, which is Thursday. And then we're starting to look into the Link-Huber intersection. Cody's working on right-of-way documents so we can start getting going on what we need to do at that area. That's really, seems like all I have, but it's really incredible what's going on out there, and if you all want to come out, just let me know. Are there any questions? Okay. So your next item on your agenda is, and I don't have a slideshow for this, I'm going to ask Cody to come up to address any questions, but after going through the permitting process and this last, or that 7-month period of figuring out what we were going to do to get bid, to meet a timeline that would work with the school schedule and try to keep things moving. I sent it in one of your packets, I think a couple weeks ago, that we have changes reflecting city comments and permitting issues that now are costing dollars that we didn't have planned for in our design when we put it out to bid in March. Do you want to take it from here?
Good evening, board. Good evening, assembly. So just kind of recap as far as the site permit. So at the time when the project went out to bid was in April of 2023. At that time, we were still going through the process with the City of Public Infrastructure. They weren't doing concurrent reviews with our site drawings yet, so we actually didn't receive comments for the site drawings till in August, so quite a few months after the project went out to bid. At that time, it was agreed to go ahead and bid the project anyway, since we didn't receive any city comments during that month of April due to the concern of escalation as well as the market saturation as far as trying to get subcontractors on board. So at that time, Bartlett Cox was seeing about a 0.75% to 1% escalation increase per month. So if we were to wait till August or September, not only would we have been hurt in the schedule, the GMP would have been much higher as well due to the escalation factor. Approximately just plugging in those numbers, about 3.5 to 4.8 million more money, about 4 to 5 month time period. So at that time, they weren't reviewing. So typically we would submit to the city, get comments back while the project is out to bid, and then incorporate those changes in through an addendum, so it'd be already factored in the GMP. So the GMP does include an escalation allowance of approximately $2 million that Bartlett Cox has not had to tap into. There's also some buyout savings too that Bartlett Cox has realized that could help cover this change as well. So it's not an increase to the GMP, it's all there's money within the GMP to cover these city comments.
Board members, this is in action later in our board meeting. As you know, we did let you know that over a certain amount we would be bringing any change orders to you, and this does qualify, even though the buyout savings does cover the cost of these changes that are due to city permitting and requests. But we did want you to hear directly from Claycomb as well as AGCM about it and have the information you need when we go into action later in the board meeting.
Are there any questions regarding, this is the first discussion item? Okay. Thank you. So we'll go on into our second discussion item, which is the athletic improvement plan.
Thank you for having me. This is definitely outside of my comfort zone and something I've never done before, and actually something I couldn't even find on the internet. But going through this process, I'm very glad that I did it. I think I learned a whole lot. It's a great reflection. Reached out to a lot of programs, talked to a lot of programs about what they're doing. Things like that, and something I wish I would have done a long time ago. But going through the process, I wanted to do an assessment phase, comprehensive assessment of the current state of the athletic programs, includes evaluating facilities, equipment, coaching staff, participation rates, student interest, and performance in competition. Stakeholder engagement, goal setting, facility improvement, coaching development, student recruitment and retention, fundraising, resources, allocation, academic support, health and wellness programs, community engagement, evaluation and monitoring, and celebrations and recognitions. I'm sure that I missed something and some processes in this, and I would love feedback on that, things that we need to add and continue to look at. But as far as mission and vision, Navarro ISD Athletics is to prepare student athletes to become leaders and champions by placing the highest values on integrity, character, sportsmanship, and work ethic. Our purpose is to train student athletes to become better people who are honest, sincere, and enthusiastic, better students who value education and study hard, better athletes who become physically, mentally, and spiritually stronger, and a better team that plays with class and total effort. Our program structure, it all starts with strength and conditioning, and I think all programs need to do that. Physical metrics, strength and conditioning, we track the progress of strength, power, and endurance through reps, whether it's one rep or multiple chest verticals, explosiveness, and times run. Our nutrition, we want to make sure that our students have as much knowledge on meeting their nutritional needs and for energy, also recovery and their overall health. We make sure that we track their height, weight, and energy levels. Injury prevention is the number one thing in your strength conditioning program, making sure that you are developing athletes whose bodies are prepared for the sports that they're going to play, whether it's contact in football, cuts in basketball, whatever that may be. Our mental and emotional metrics, it's focus and attention, assess the ability to maintain and concentrating during training and competition, use additional focus questionnaires and observations, pre-game, dribbling a tennis ball, focusing on that, locking in your mind and your body. Mental toughness, measure resistance, pushing them hard while maintaining and where they can compete. Our strategies to reach our goal is periodization through cycling, whether it's all of our training phases, strength, speed, whatever that may be. Looking for feedback and communication with the players, with coaches to see where we're going. And our psychological skills and training, like I said, mental skills, training, visualization, goal setting, relaxation techniques, and enhanced performance. Our goals, increase participation rates, 7th grade and freshman recruitment incentives, trying to get kids to join every sport that we have, some things that we have done, and we're going to need to build on these things. Started 6th grade pre-athletics. I think that's been great for us. I've heard a lot of great feedback from that. High school coaches, we try to get out there as much as we can with junior high practices, working with them hosting a 7-on-7 league, which we have a whole bunch of our kids playing at right now, hosting lineman challenges, summer basketball leagues. We got our boys back in a summer basketball league this summer. It's been a couple of years since they've been doing that. Peer mentoring programs, pairing upperclassmen with underclassmen, provide guidance and support, encourage and bring those up. We have group leaders in the weight room. We have a draft. We did not this year, but most years we have pulled in draft for competition days through athletics. Flexible scheduling, make sure kids are able to compete in everything that they want to. Make sure that it's at the best time for them. I always talk to our senior athletes, ask when they want to do, what times they want to run our two-a-days, our SAC camps, all of that, to make sure that they can get there and work. Track is offering 2 practices every day for multiple sport athletes. They can come in the morning or after school. Promotion of multi-sport athletes. We encourage them all the time, recognize them. I'm a big fan of multi-sport. I think it prevents injuries. This is gonna be more difficult as we grow and as we add each program. Visiting and interviewing soccer coaches. One of their main thing is straight soccer players who are playing year-round. That's what a lot of them are talking about. And competitive cheer going on, tennis going on, cross country going on, volleyball, it's gonna affect how they can do that. But we recognize 4 and 5 sport athletes as much as we can at the high school and junior high banquets. We're always wanting kids to play as many sports as possible and participate in UIL, band, theater. My first couple of years here, when we made a great run deep into the playoffs and had kids marching at halftime and for academic all-state, that was something that's always that we've been proud of. We want to continue to grow with what we're offering while we maintain making sure that we can compete at a high level. I don't want to just offer sports to offer sports, but as long as we have those kids and the numbers to go be successful at that, which is why we added soccer, possibly wrestling in the future, and as we grow, see where else that could go. We also always encourage kids to talk to them. It's one thing coaches, hey, you need to come play, we'd love to see you out there, but when their friends are telling them, hey, come out here and play this year, be a part of it, we're gonna have a good time, that's where we get a lot of kids, and we're pushing that. Number 2, enhancing coaching quality, recruitment efforts, trying to get those people here, trying to attract them. It's getting harder and harder where things are going, and the voucher deal really scares me of where high school sports are going to go if that ever passed. But there's so many associations and so many job boards out there, and we try to hit every single one of them. The district pays. The Texas High School Coaches Association has done a great job over the last few years of making it where it's not just boys coaches at the clinics and at coaching school, that all coaches are there, and it hits boys and girls side. Like last year, the service we pay for, as soon as I post a job, it sends out emails to everybody that qualifies for that with the teaching field, the job description. And like last summer, it emailed 2,244 volleyball coaches. When it's a girls sport, we hit the Girls Association as well, their job board. Baseball, basketball, are all been posted. Sports U is becoming a big deal through the Texas High School Coaches Association, so we post on the Region 8 one, which we belong to, and the statewide, as well as social media. But some of the best success we have is I try to find good programs that are doing well. Hey, do you have a young coach that's ready to take that next step, come be a part of it, or y'all have a kid that just graduated that's gone through y'all's program that's getting into coaching, and it's a good way to find coaches as well. Professional development technique, making sure our coaches are going to clinics, coaching school, meeting with other staffs. That's probably where I've learned the most, just sitting down and talking one-on-one with staffs. The summer before last, we actually hosted one where Maybank came down and Weimer came down, and we talked to them through our football program, what we do, how we do it, broke down practice, steps of the offensive line, everything. Coach Taylor went through running backs. Maybank left, Weimer stayed, and we visited almost all day. We took them through every aspect of our program, strength and conditioning, practices, what we do year round. And this year, they were in Dave Campbell's, excuse me, Texas, top 10 most improved football programs by doing exactly what we talked about during that time. And I've gone and done the same thing with other programs. Mentors, making sure we have great mentors on our staff with the new coaches and try to connect with them, with someone outside of it. That's something we still need to grow and improve on. Feedback, making sure that we're doing a great job of being honest with coaches and talking to them about what we need and how we're doing it. With coaches meetings, working on a new way to evaluation and new form for evaluation, but making sure we're having meetings during the season, talking to them about what they're doing great, after season, wrapping up things individually and with the entire coaching staff. Certification requirements, making sure that coaches are taking care of all their certifications and pushing them to get certifications in specific things to help push our program forward. We have first aid, CPR, that's all we got. We always have to do that. Everybody has to do their UIL certifications, concussion, constitution, contest rules, tackling. Every new coach has to go through that, learn how to tackle, taking the head out of the game. UIL is doing a great job of making sure sports are as safe as they've ever been, especially with football and all of the talk about concussions and all of that. That's a big focus on them. Strength and conditioning, we want to make sure that we're taking good care of our kids and pushing them to the right limits and having them do the right things. We have 2 coaches on staff that are fully certified in strength and conditioning and another coach that's working on it. We need to do a better job and continue to recognize our coaches and celebrate their achievements and contributions and when they're doing great things. Goal of 3, improving facilities and equipment. That took a big step when we passed our bond. Very excited about that. People are all over calling and asking about it, and we're very excited to get that rolling. We also did upgrades on the softball field, replaced the turf at Irwin Lee. Just trying to stay on top of our equipment, making sure that we have the best. We have 2 groups that do a great job, our boosters and the posse, of making sure we have the things that we need along with our school budgets. Partnerships we need to work on, especially with the building coming up and getting local businesses involved and seeing if we can get funding through that. One of the major things that we need to do, and I need to sit down and make sure that we have a long-term planning facility, making sure we have the proper maintenance on all of our new buildings, all of our old buildings, not letting them get out of date and in bad shape before we start working on them. So making sure they stay at that high level. 4, building competitive excellence, making sure we have a quality training program, which I think we do. A lot of people in the state call and talk to us a lot about that. Preseason camps, clinics, we're working on making sure we're working with the youth more, trying to get our youth playing here with each other as much as possible and not playing in LeBronville's league, San Marcos's league. We're doing a great job with summer camps for all of our sports, our SAC camp through summer strength and conditioning. We have a CFPO football league that's going to be for our kids this year. We're going to have preseason coaches meetings with those guys. Our volleyball team did one this year with NYSO. It was a great turnout, and we're going to continue to do that. Hopefully build with our basketball as well with NYSO. Competition analysis, past performance, identifying areas that we need to improve on, and strategies for success. That's kind of updated since we put it together. We've had 47 team sport playoff wins over the past 6 years. That's counting baseball winning a series as one, softball winning a series as one, not each individual game. Past 6 years, we've gone to the postseason 88 times. And our nutrition and fitness programs, I talked about that as we started. Each one, that's kind of what we do, making sure that we're doing all of that, getting every aspect of the athlete, not just the strength and conditioning, make sure they're taking care of their bodies, making sure they're taking care of their minds. Making sure we're scheduling great schedules, putting together competitive schedules that are going to make us better and get us ready for the playoffs, getting a variety of skill levels and different teams that we're going to see. One of the main things, and we do a good job, we need to continue to do a better job, is make sure we schedule and play as many sub-varsity games in junior high and freshman level JV, getting those kids reps, keeping them interested in playing so they continue to play the next year. But if you're going to improve in a sport, it's about playing time. Data analysis and performance tracking, making sure we're using everything that we can, going through, keeping records each year, trying to build on it, monitoring our athletes as they progress through their high school game, through career. Foster personal growth and well-being. Character development, we started 2 years ago. This is our second year doing it. 2 words, character development. With Stephen Mackey, it's been really good for us. Sit down about 10 minutes on Mondays, watch his video that he puts out. He's got resources and stuff that you can use as well. Academic support, provide students with services, make sure they're great student athletes, in which we don't have to work too hard at with the majority of our athletes, because they're taking care of their grades. There are some that we have to use students to help mentor. Coaches got to stay on their grades. We're doing well, but we have a lot of athletes. I'd say 90% of our athletes are academic all-district. We have 41 seniors that were academic all-state this year. And greatest thing that we had was last year, a little kid that never talked. I'd never heard him talk, especially in a public setting, came to me before, Coach, can I talk to the team before we start? And so we always square up in boys athletics just like this. And I said, yeah. And I called him out, and he stepped out and he said, I'm very good in math. If anybody needs help from me, please let me know and I can help you. And so we have kids doing that, and that was very big of him, of stepping up when he doesn't talk and talk in front of the team. So we encourage that because we have a lot of kids that are doing good. The health and wellness of our programs, making sure that our kids are doing right, they're helping each other, they're building schools, building each other up in the school. It's scary hearing about all the athletes and college athletes, the suicide rate with those kids, and making sure we're positive with them and picking them up to prevent that. But going out and helping each other, there's nothing better than going and helping someone else to bring you up. And some things that we've been doing, opening doors at the elementary and intermediate. Our kids love doing that. Helping with casino night. Worked 2 games with the American League in San Antonio this year. The baseball team came back just telling stories about that and had a great time. Worked with NYSO, stuffed the bus, collection, donation for school supplies, served the Lions Club, First Friday Feast, volunteer with the Special Athletes, a program that was started by one of our athletes last year and was a great success again this year. Looking at some of our stats and going back to our programs, breaking down each program. Volleyball is one of our programs that has dropped over my time from 162 wins since the last 6 years, when they had 185 and 14 playoff wins 6 years before. We did have a 33-win season this year, which is back on the right track, but got to get back to winning playoff games and going deep in the playoffs. The asterisk beside each one is coaching change, and pound sign is when the UIL realignment was. And so if it's on 22, 16 also had a realignment there. In 20, we couldn't play tournaments because we're coming out of the COVID deal, so we didn't play near as many games that year. Football, just like volleyball, was a great program. We did not win 10 games the last 2 seasons, but we're playing an extremely competitive non-district schedule against great teams, getting us ready for the playoffs. Still averaging over 10 wins a year and 16 playoff wins over the last 6 years since I've been here, which is 4 more than the 6 years before I came here. And just a side note on football, because there is talk and there are people who are pushing, wanting to go to spread, and we need to change the offense. Why are we running slot T? This is why we're running the slot T. In 17 years, since Coach Goad got here, he was here for 11. I've done 6. Slot T's won 169 games and lost 46. Non-slot T teams, and talking to Scott Kibbe, who's the expert on everything that's happened in our football history, he said that we basically run every offense from run and shoot to pro. In those 36 years, there was 126 wins and 220 losses. In the playoffs, 17 years, slot T's won 32 games, non-slot T, 4 playoff games in 36 years. And 7 outright district championships running our offense, and 1 district championship in 36 years running a different offense. Girls basketball has stayed about the same, but has been way more consistent in the playoffs. 4 years in a row, going 3 rounds deep. The records are almost identical. Won 1 more playoff game in those 6 years, but the 6 years prior, they won 5 playoff games in 1 year and had first round exits the 4 years after that. Boys basketball is our other program that has seen a decrease. It's one that we know that we have to work hard on and focus. Very excited about the basketball coach that we hope to hire tonight. Loved our interview with him, what he talked about of working with young and building and wanting to be here for a long time, wanting his kids to grow up coming through our program. So we're hoping to get that on the right track this year. Softball has greatly improved over the past 6 years. 1 of their seasons were canceled, so they have only got to play 5 seasons. And in those 5 seasons compared to the 6 before I got here, they've over doubled their wins and doubled their playoff wins. Not getting to play that season, so that is up greatly. Baseball, same thing, missed the 20 season because of COVID, and still have more wins and more playoff wins. That should say 7 with our baseball team going 2 rounds this year, winning a series, so that should go up to 7. But in 5 years, they won 113 games, lost 43, won 7 playoff series, and the 6 years prior, they won 102, 65 losses, and won 6 playoff games. So total team sports, it should be 47 for the past 6 years since I've been here, and the 6 years prior, there were 43 playoff wins for all the team sports. In that includes team tennis going 3 rounds deep. Powerlifting is another program that has greatly improved, both boys and girls. Multiple at state every year, regional championships. It's exploding. Had to make cuts in powerlifting for the first time this season. Tennis is another program greatly improved. Won their first ever playoff game in 2021, went 4 rounds deep. Were district champions again this year. In track, boys just set a school record in the 4x200 meter relay. The girls have broken 5 school records since 2019 and won a district championship in 2020 with all of our what's considered spring sports, track, cross country, and golf. Even though cross country's in the fall, they fall into that district. Very good competition. Most of those teams that win our district are advancing to state. We did not have a girl advance this year, but we have kids turning in great times, and we had our 400-meter girl this year, ran the fastest time than any girls ran over the last 6 years here, and didn't get out of district. We have a 400-meter girl who did get out of district last year, made it to the regional finals, competing in college track, and still didn't run as fast as our young lady this year. Just an extremely tough district. Same thing with golf. My cousin in West Columbia is a Region 4 4A. Made it was second in district, in her district, and she shot the same score as our young lady that did not even get out, didn't advance. Cross country has been good and can stay in. Very good with boys and girls in regional and state each year. Girls team finished 5th in the region in 2022. So looking at all of our programs, we've had 2 programs that have slightly lost ground with our volleyball and basketball programs. We've had 7 programs that have maintained the high level that they've been at, and we have 8 programs that are improved or greatly improved over the past 6 years. I'm sure there's things that I missed. I'm sure there's things that I didn't think about. Please let me know, and we'll add it and we'll continue to try to build on it. And I'm sure Ms. Epley will have some things for me as well. We definitely want to continue to grow, continue to learn, and reach that ultimate goal of winning state championships and the Lone Star Cup.
Great work. Questions from the board members?
I do have one. I appreciate the effort it took to put this together. It's not something that I've ever seen before,
Yes.
an athletic improvement plan. But my question really is what is your goal to disseminate or to implement or to start some of these things that, they sound great, but
Yes, sir.
how do you plan on them?
One thing, I think the first big step is starting a student advisory committee or a advisory committee, maybe having athletes on it, try to get one from each sport, parents from each sport, get on there, start having meetings, get some input from them as well, see how that goes, talk about what they're looking for, coaches. And we have a lot of kids that vary on what their goal is through athletics. Some of them are using it to go to college. Some of them are using it to have fun and extend the educational process, but get feedback from them and build on that. Talking to other coaches, and I have a plan. I'm gonna meet with Coach Hare. He's been at Lago Vista, Salado. He's built a lot of programs, and he has a pretty good process that he has. He's now at Queens Chaparral starting their program, and we're gonna meet this summer and go through some of those things of how he does it. He has a whole bunch of committees, a whole bunch of parent meetings. We sat down and talked, but we didn't have time to go through everything. But he's a guy that's done great, and I plan to learn from him as well, see what he's doing.
Did I not say that? Oh, I'm sorry. Let the record show that Donna Gilliam joined at 7:02.
So I have a couple of questions. A lot of work that you put in here. A few things that kind of struck me that I would like some more information on to kind of add to. One would have to do with the participation rates over the years that coincide with, what that looks like. I mean, we've been adding students every year over the past 12 years, and so we're going back 12 years, and we're seeing some of the records the same, some of the records going down.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious to see with our participation rates, if those are going up or down. I know, at least at the junior high, it seems like in some areas it may be going down just because we're not having as many teams, but you may also be making the teams bigger, or you may be making cuts. So I'd be interested to see what is behind that going through in terms of building, because we should be building from 7th grade up.
Yes, ma'am, no doubt, that's our foundation. And, had some parents with concerns, last year about the way things are going. That's our foundation in junior high. We wanna build that, we wanna teach them the right way to do things. Football, it's a slow process. I wanna teach them how to be fundamentally sound over winning at the junior high level. And, you have teams that are gonna come out and they're gonna blitz every single down, and they're gonna beat you early on, because that's not what they're not learning. And then once we get to high school, we typically win those games. You look at the team that graduated last year, they played their 7th grade year under Coach Goad, won 1 or 2 games. 8th grade, Coach Thompson's a great coach, won 1 or 2 games with them, and then they were able to go win 7 playoff games. So we wanna build that foundation there. I have not done a great job of knowing the exact numbers of kids that are playing. I was shocked when I got here that we only had 18 for one of our junior high football teams. And so, well, we're kind of on that edge. For some years we have both A and B, some years we don't. And it's my goal that if we have 15 kids in football, we're gonna make 2 teams. Sometimes that's hard because you gotta have little kids that aren't developed yet playing, but the only way they're gonna stay involved and feel successful is if they're playing, not sitting on the sideline. If you have 40 of them on one team and 11 of them are playing. So I need to do a great job of tracking that with all of our other sports. We've always had full teams and always had to make cuts. With the exception of varsity high school girls basketball, 1 year we had 2 teams. But that same year, Barney had 2 teams, which is, 1,400 kids in school. Fredericksburg, Canyon Lake, and 2 other schools in the district also had 2, but we've been back up to that. But everything else, boys basketball, we're still making cuts. They carried more teams, more kids than they have in the past, which is good. Keeping kids involved and trying to keep them out, but it also creates an issue with playing time. Those kids that were borderline of whether they made it, them and their parents are upset sometimes they're not getting a lot of playing time. But the goal was to try to keep them interested and build numbers.
And I think this is somewhat maybe related, because it's something that I noticed in some of the data, and I noticed that you had stated in the sheet that, some of the data was just for max preps and some of the stuff you may not have had over time. So I like all the things in here about, maintaining the data trail on that. But you mentioned it just now in terms of building the foundation and all of that. And I noticed that there were significant more coaching changes in the last 6 years. And I believe those are just head coaching changes that you mentioned on there.
I don't know what the coaching changes were before I got
Didn't
here,
know that,
so I
okay.
didn't.
Because there were a few marked on there, and so it looks like there have been a lot more coaching changes, and that can affect that piece. So I wasn't sure if that was just related to the data, or if we have just had a lot more of that recently along with the other. So that's something you can obviously answer later.
Yeah.
My last 2 is I am curious, a little bit piggyback on what Clint said about how you mentioned community partnerships in here a lot. I'd be interested to hear more about what those partnerships look like and how we would do that to help build the athletes. And then something you don't have in here that I think I've heard you talk about before deals with looking at the Lone Star Cup, where you actually combine your athletic program with your academic program. And you mentioned the academic success, but that's not in here. So I'm just curious if you're still interested in aiming for that, because I think you would have to increase some of the sports, which I hear the hesitation on one side, but we are getting bigger, and so that.
There's no doubt, and we've done well in the Lone Star Cup, certain years without a lot of things that go into winning the Lone Star Cup. And that's my ultimate goal, is that complete program, complete student athlete involvement. I'd say over winning the state championship in a single sport, is being able to go in that and compete. And we're working on that with competitive cheer, adding those robotics, stuff that goes into that.
And on that, we're gonna make sure they can do all of the things if they want to, those 4 and 5 sport athletes.
We want them to, that's
Involved with the competitive cheer as well.
yes, but it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult working with those depending on what they want to do. But you know me, you've been around long enough, you've seen kids coming through that I push. I want them
That one's
involved.
super near and dear to my heart, so I am curious to make sure that happens.
I want all kids involved, and we're gonna do everything that we can to make that happen. But it's gonna cost, it's gonna go, they're gonna miss a volleyball practice at some point. They're gonna miss a competitive cheer practice. But the coaches will understand that if it's a school-related activity, that it's not gonna be held against that kid. If they can still step in and perform the roles that they need to, then they need to be on the court, on the field, whatever it may be.
What other questions or comments do you have?
I have one real quick. It all looks great. Who's going to, and it's a lot to manage, and who's going to, is like each coach gonna kind of manage their own and then report back to you, documentation and everything?
We will go over this, in our initial meetings at the beginning of the year. This is our plan. We're going through our handbook of what we're doing. And, yes, coaches, we'll work together as a program and individual sports are coming back together. And that's something that I still gotta work on, still gotta get other ideas from people.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it.
Yes, sir.
Do you have other questions or comments? I have one question. Sort of to piggyback on what Dan's saying, it's a lot, and I really appreciate the work that you've done to put all of it together. I think a concern that we've heard ongoing, and I'm just curious your thoughts on how you're gonna manage and oversee, is to make sure that, one, the programs are run consistently, and then also oversight of girls' sports and the boys' sports. So when you talk about the mental health part and you guys coming together for 10 minutes and watching the videos on Mondays, is that both sports, I mean, both sides, like?
Yes, ma'am. It started in 7th grade, junior high athletics, of course, and it's every athletic period that we have goes through and does that, both sides.
So, in terms of making sure, I guess what I'm curious is, like, back to Dan's point, like, do you meet with the coaches on a weekly basis, all coaches, to say, you know, what are you seeing? I mean, that's what I'm reading here, is that you're gonna be tracking it, in terms of, like, what their performance is, how are they doing, what challenges are they seeing, how can you get in front of it and try to, you know, not let it get out of hand and stuff. But I know you're busy too,
Yes.
so how do you manage all of that?
We don't meet weekly. I do it end of year meeting with our coaches, head coaches. If something comes up, they know to come to me and talk to me. Coach Harvey meets with them training wise, nutrition wise, what's going on, what they need. They're peaking during, they need to peak during the week. He'll pull them out of the weight room and go work band work with basketball or volleyball, or do something separate with them in the gym. So it's a joint effort, and coaches are gonna need to know and be able to come to me as well. And it's something that we gotta do, and I gotta do a great job of setting out of how we're gonna do it. You can't, there's a lot going on for me, but for our coaches as well, taking care of their classroom, so we gotta find that time to meet.
Okay, and one last question.
Yes, ma'am.
On strength and conditioning, I know typically each sport sort of needs different strength and conditioning based off of, you know, their sport. So for the coaches that you have overseeing strength and conditioning, are they tailoring it to the multiple sports, or are they just setting one strength and conditioning that every player has to do?
We have a strength and conditioning program that we go through of building strength, building explosiveness, injury prevention, and he will tailor during the season of what they're doing. But no, we don't have a golf, a volleyball, a basketball. It'll be individualized during their sports, but it's not overall throughout the year.
Okay. That was my questions.
Yeah, so I think I'm just gonna piggyback a little bit on what Renee's saying, because I know it's something that I've heard, and it's not really a question, it's just gonna kind of be a statement
Yes,
of
ma'am.
however you handle So there's two things. I guess the first is, if we're really looking at building up the programs and from the ground up and all of that, I know the strength and conditioning is important, but I think when push comes to shove, what do those off-season programs look like for the kids that just want to play basketball, for the kids? And I know we want to create these multi-sport athletes, which is great when you have kids that are interested. But if you look at us kind of historically, a lot of times it's the same kids doing all of the things. And so, you know, how do we garner that piece to kind of build that component for those kids that just really want to play basketball? And I can play basketball all year long and I'm happy, and you have that one kid, and then you have that one kid who's a fantastic athlete across all, and what are we fostering for them if we're only focusing those periods on, you know, that one particular area? And, you know, I think the other thing is handling the all athletes. I don't want to say not equitably, but handling them equitably when it comes to discipline, and how are you working with your coaches to do that? Because, you know, we have our star athletes and we have the other ones, and sometimes they overshadow some of the kids that are really out there just trying to make it every day. And what are we doing to really make that more of a consistent, whatever it is, the discipline to it, the academic pieces of it. And I really hate for that to sound critical, but it is something that I hear. And so I feel like that I'm just gonna be flat out honest with you about it.
Yeah.
And if you can't fix what you don't know,
Okay,
right?
yes, ma'am, exactly. Are you saying that the better athletes get treated differently?
Better athletes get treated better. They get treated differently.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so, thank you for a great job in pulling all that together. We look forward to updates, as you move along. I think you're up for the next discussion item as well, which is drug testing for extracurricular activities.
Right. This is a touchy deal. I came up in programs that did it, that tested in George West. We implemented and started in Mathis, and I've seen it do great things. When we got to Mathis, Mathis was a community known for a lot of drug activity, and we started the program, and I had kids come up to me and say, "Coach, I can't do this. We do drugs, we smoke weed as a family, and I'm gonna fail the drug test." And I said, "Well, you know, you're gonna continue to play, you're gonna have to have that conversation. So my parents are gonna get mad at me if I don't." And it was a young man and a young woman both had that conversation with me. And we did a baseline test at at 7th grade, and a baseline test at 10th grade. And so neither one of those kids ever failed a drug test, and were able to stay clean through high school so they could compete. And I think it's just to give kids a reason to say no. You know, there's a lot of peer pressure going on, especially with the vapes, being able to do anything, but no telling what's in a vape now, whether it's THC or had a kid, a mom come to me that said that her son tested positive for fentanyl, and said it was out of a vape. I don't know if that's right, but I know the drug test said that he'd taken fentanyl, and if we have this policy, maybe he says no and doesn't take it. So that's why I talked about it last year. Concerned me, walking the halls, seeing kids go through, and so I wanted to bring it back up and see y'all's thoughts on it. I'm perfectly fine either way, but I do like giving the kids a reason to be able to say no. My objective is to drug test the high school students, junior high, have it available for them, however we want to set it up, whether it's just high school or does both of them. Provide drug education for those kids who test positive for it, and try to get them off of it. And kids that are at risk, I know a lot of kids, especially in this range, come to school and are here for athletics or for extracurricular activities, and this is a great way to keep them in school and keep them healthy. Just trying to undermine peer pressure, providing a legitimate reason for kids to say. When I first brought this up, I think 5 years ago, I asked our students, is there a drug problem? Our athletes and our top athletes, yes, there's an issue. You're gonna lose a lot of students. And I said, all right, are we gonna lose students, or are they gonna stop doing it so they can continue to participate in athletics? And they said most of them will probably stop if this program's there. So the plan would be for all students in any extracurricular activity at the high school or junior high to be tested. Testing will be conducted through accepted scientific means using approved practices and procedures established by testing laboratory selected by the district. The testing parameters shall be set by industry standards as defined National Institute for Drug Use. Drug abuse, and who I've been talking to is Pinnacle, who we use for our bus driving, our bus drivers with drug testing. So we'd be working with the same company. We wouldn't have to open a new plan. All students in extracurricular activity and their parents will have to be asked to sign a drug testing consent form as a condition to participate in extracurricular activities. Each consenting students will be issued an identification number. The campus principal will maintain the names of the students with their corresponding identification number. A representative from the testing laboratory will take samples to the testing laboratory and retrieve results. All specimens will be identified by student identification numbers. Every effort will be made to maintain the integrity of the testing specimen to ensure security. Only one student will be tested at a time. All specimens will be identified by the student's identification number. Specimen will be sealed and witnessed by the student. A representative from the drug testing laboratory will take it and take it to the system. They will have two containers, A and a B, in case there's an issue with the first one. Refusal to provide a sample or non-compliance with the testing procedures by any students engaged in extracurricular activities will be considered a positive result and will be reported to the appropriate campus administrator. All drug testing results are confidential information and will be handled accordingly. Test results will be disclosed only to the student's parents, and the athletic director, if applicable, the head coach of the sport that they're in, superintendent, and the principal. And any other person required by law to receive the copies. All test results will be destroyed when the students leave the school in accordance with the district's documentation retention policy. Whenever students' test results indicate presence of an illegal drug or banned substance, the parent will be contacted by the drug testing company. The testing entity will provide an MRO to interpret and verify the results. The MRO will determine if there is a medical explanation for the student drug report. If a parent can provide a medical excuse with documentation, the MRO will report the test results negative. However, without medical information, the MRO will report to the school's designated representative a positive drug screen. So they'll contact parents. Is there a prescription? Is there a reason? They'll look at it, make sure it's valid, and if that is, they won't be considered felon. Most times in that cases, the kids tell us during the drug testing, hey, I'm on medication for this, and we kind of document it, letting them know and expect that. It's only happened a couple of times in my time doing it. Student tests for drug use may request a second test using bottle B of the split specimen and from a laboratory from a list of certified independent laboratories to be provided by the district. Such request must be made to the building principal in writing with 48 hours of the first notification, and we've always had the parent pay for that retest. And then how we set it up or how we do anything is completely up to us. Whether we do a baseline test as they come into high school or do it each year, that gets costly. There's a minimum of 12 tests per visit. We can have it set up when they come to drug test our bus drivers, and they can pull however many students we want at that time. It could be 30 to from 12 to 30, but when you get up there in numbers, it takes all morning to do it because you gotta pull them all out at once, and then they're not gonna wanna use the restroom, you gotta give them a bunch of water and keep them there, and sometimes it goes past lunch. How students are tested will be completely out of our hands. We'll give a list to Pinnacle if that's who we go with. Students participating in it, they'll give them a number, and the list is divided by campus, grade, gender. All students will be entered into their approved random number generator. It will produce a list. The list will be produced in a way that no student can be added or removed by the school. No one will know the identity of the students until they arrive on campus. When they arrive on campus, they'll give a list to our principal, and he will have to call them out. Once on the campus, the list of primary and alternate students will be given to the campus contact. If somebody's absent that's on the list, then they go to that first available alternate and second available alternate. Looking at the cost, if we did a baseline of junior high and high school, it would be around $31,700. That test may have gone up a little bit since we put this together, but it shouldn't be much more. And $21,000 if we did it at the high school. If we did random only test 5 times a year, if you did 25, which is kind of pushing it, it would be a little over $4,000. And if you did 15 tests 5 times a year, it would cost us $2,625 for the year to do that. I think that was on the test, and that's kind of what I would recommend is just doing a baseline. Then what do we got to decide what we want to do with kids who have a positive test? My suggestion would be a 30-day suspension and counseling for the first offense. Second offense, 60 days suspension and counseling. And third positive would be removal for a calendar year, and they would have to go through that counseling again before they could re-enter the program the next year. A student refuses any test as required or refuse to sign the policy to say they'll be tested, they have the same consequences. They have the same consequences as a positive test. If they don't sign the consent form, then they would not be able to participate in extracurricular activities. And all that's kind of up for our discussion of how we want to do it, what our punishments are, and all of that. I just want to give the kids an easy way out to say no. If they're at a party, something happens, somebody comes up to them, no, I can't do that. I don't want to miss my play. I don't want to miss my band concert. I want to miss my game.
Questions?
I do have a question. So I agree with you 100%. The vape thing is a huge deal right now with THC. My question is on the baseline piece. What is the thought process behind wanting to do a baseline? Is it just a good way to like at the onset go, here's the group of kids get their 30 days? Or because I mean you either test positive or you don't. And I'm asking from the standpoint of it is considerably more to do a baseline, so what benefit do you see other than everybody's gonna start their summer and go, I'm not gonna smoke any pot this summer, you know, and then we get into the season and I did my baseline test. So
that's the deal with the baseline. It's a lot. I don't know that we need it, but
it's an option, is
Yeah.
kind of what you're saying, but
Yeah.
you don't really see a
I'm not-
particular benefit to it, yes or no?
There is a benefit that everybody knows that they're going to be tested coming in. But like I said, I'm not looking to catch kids. I just want to give them an easy out if they want an easy out. So my recommendation would be 15 tests 5 times a year.
Thank you.
Good question. If the child tests positive the first time, are they automatically checked the second time?
Yes. Once you fail a test, you're always on the list every time they come from then on.
Is that part of the 15? Okay.
That would be part of the 15.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
And how are we defining extracurricular activities? Are we also including, co-curricular or any, like UIL academics? What are we talking
I
about?
would say anything outside the regular school day.
Okay.
Academic UILs, one-act play, band. In both places, at George West and Mathis, they tested kids that drove to school. So So it was if you drove to school and used the parking lot, you got tested, or if you were in any extracurricular activity. It wouldn't be like Spanish club, it would be that go off campus and represent, compete against other school districts.
So,
I think you get into legal issues if you select, certain groups get selected.
sure. What about participation rates with these other programs that you see? Do you see a big drop if that's, implemented? Or maybe you see about the same?
I don't know. Just visiting with the kids that I've talked to, they seem to think a lot will stop to do it. I don't know, band, theater, UIL, but that's stuff that kids take pride in, that's stuff that kids want to do and celebrate, so I would think they would have the same feelings, but I don't know. And I can't guarantee that it's not gonna cause a bunch of athletes to just turn it in and say they're not interested anymore. But
That would be one of my concerns,
Yes, sir.
is the participation rates of
Definitely.
extracurricular activities overall. Not to say condone anything that they would do outside, that would say they are doing drugs, I'm not saying that, but just to say that, that potential, of knowing that that's out there, they just don't wanna deal with the testing, no
Yes, sir.
matter what.
A few years ago when I brought it up, I talked to everybody, and the only person that expressed a concern about it and was opposed to it was our bank director. So,
And I think the other time we talked about it, is there gonna be any, will we have an appeal process as well?
the only appeal process would be they could have their sample be sent to a different laboratory to get tested at their cost.
One question, and it's just clarification. First positive, 30-day suspension and counseling. That is just extracurricular suspension, correct? It's
Yes.
no academic suspension.
We'll treat it just like being an eligible fellow in class. You go practice with your team, you participate within your team, you just can't go to the contest to participate in that contest. So that way, what I've told kids in the past, the only way anybody's gonna know that you failed a drug test is if you tell them. It stays right here with us, we're gonna go out, we're gonna treat it just like every day. You can tell them that you failed a class, you can tell them you got a hamstring, whatever it is, but normal activities are gonna go on, except playing in those contests. But there would be no action, they wouldn't go to DAP or ISS, or there's no school discipline.
Agreed. I mean, we can't, we don't know where it took place. So we can't
Right.
put it in DAB or anything for that.
Right, it was just clarification, because it
Yes, sir.
just says suspension,
Yeah.
it doesn't have any other clarification.
Unless it's your star player, and all of a sudden they're not starting.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a thing or not, if it may be covered under UAL, kind of like you can't opt out as a parent for STAR, but you can opt out from certain school programs. Is there something under UIL or under something that would prevent a parent from saying, my child's under 17, I don't care what your policy is, you're not gonna test my child? Is that something we would have to, that may be a question for legal,
Yeah.
would we have to offer an opt-out clause for parents if they didn't want that released? Is it, I don't know the answer to that, so it's
I think we need
it
to
just kind of
check with-
popped in my head, like,
I
you
think we
can't
need
opt
to
out
check
for
with
STAR.
legal, but I don't think you can offer opt-outs, because anybody with an issue about that.
It kind of negates the program as a whole if
Yeah.
we can all just
Right.
band together and opt out, right? I think the discussion that I had with Coach is, I know this has come up before, with the board, and that we wanted to get a sense of where you were on this, before we, pursued really understanding, the details of what you guys would be approving, going forward, and speaking with legal counsel. But if it is something that you're interested in pursuing, getting more information, we would be able to bring that back and make a decision about action. I think some of the concerns I had on timing is making sure that we are clear about pursuing this and starting it before we get deep into football season and someone says, well, magically this is a thing because football season's almost over and now you're gonna make everybody else do it, right? We wanna be very clear that this is a deterrent measure meant for all kids. And that yes, it is tied to your involvement in extracurricular, but the thought process behind it truly is the increased deaths and severity of things like the fentanyl use and awareness for our kids. And to Coach Blunt's point about helping our students have an out when you're in that pressure situation. So if it is something the board wants to pursue, we will certainly meet with legal counsel, bring you the details. I think we wanted to know the scope of what you were comfortable with. If it is the recommendation Coach has about the 15 tests, I think we feel most comfortable certainly starting with that. And then if we feel like it is a successful program and we're seeing good things happen, that we would want to look at potentially expanding. I do think any child that, whether it's through the parent or the student saying, I wanna opt out of that and I will forego extracurriculars because I believe so strongly in that, you know, we're going to encourage that, you know, if you need supports, because if the choice that you're making is, to his previous story, this is a lifestyle for our family, we want them to know they have other options and that there is counseling available. But again, I do think you'd have to hold everybody to, this is what we do here if you want to be involved in those extracurricular activities, because they are not a right, they are a privilege in the district. So I think whatever feedback you can give us today to give us some direction, we'll bring that back to you at our next board meeting.
I have a couple of questions. So the number, the 15 and 25, that encompasses junior high and high school both?
However we decide, yes ma'am.
Okay.
It could, if we wanna do that, but
My preference would be if we're encompassing both junior high and high school, that it would be 25 and not 15.
Yeah, that was my question. You said 15 would be a push or a lot. What do you mean by that?
25,
Just
I
to
don't think
get-
15 would. 25 is because as soon as they get on campus and you call one student,
They
it's
all
gonna
scatter.
spread quick,
Yeah.
and kids that are on that list could possibly leave. So you gotta, as soon as you get the list, it's all gotta go out at one. Y'all are going to grab, these people are going to grab students. As soon as you get them, don't let them out of your sight, and we walk them to a room that we have set up where a bathroom is near, where they can go in privately one at a time, but they all have to stay in that area, or people will scatter. And so, when you do that, there's gonna be kids that aren't gonna use the restroom, they're not gonna be ready, and so it takes a while to go through each test, and then which kids are gonna hold out
But
for the longest.
with that, could you do 12 every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
You know, or something like, instead of 5 times a year, or every 3
You
weeks?
could definitely do it.
Something like that, where they're.
So we're hitting more students, but separate.
Yeah, and so it's not like,
Individual time.
everybody at one time, yeah.
Yeah, I think you will be looking at some increased costs just from bringing out the company multiple
Yeah.
times, but that we can bring to you if that's a structure you're interested in
But
looking
they
at.
come out 5 times for bus.
I don't know exactly,
Okay.
just talking to her, that was
Okay.
a suggestion,
Okay.
of what they typically do in other schools.
Okay.
Do you have that answer, Brittany, about the time, how many times you have the transportation department tested?
They base it off the percentage based on DOT regulations, so here this semester, they come out at least 3 different times. But it's based on percentage.
You may look at separating campus times too, because
Yeah.
if they went to 2 different campuses, you're gonna have 2 different groups, 2
Yeah.
different testing materials. You know, if they went to one campus this 2 weeks and then one campus this 2 weeks, that may be a benefit as well.
But the goal of the 5 times per year would be to spread it out over the year to capture the drug test closer to maybe some of the sports.
Every 6 weeks, kind of?
Is that the thought?
It just spread out, but my thought was just to have it in their mind that at any point during the school year, they could get tested. It
Correct.
wasn't to
Yeah.
target one point, but if we set it where they only came one time, they would know, hey, we beat the test, and now we can do what we want to, but as long as you have them scattered, they gotta know throughout the year that something's coming up.
Yeah.
And, one thing that just we needed to talk about was, say a football player gets tested after football season. Those 30 days would start from the test, so it probably wouldn't hit him before the next football season. So if he just
That's
played
just-
football, or if he was just in one act play and he failed during a time that they weren't performing, it wouldn't have any consequences. We wouldn't wait until that season to suspend him. It would be from that drug
We could
test.
still use the counseling
Yes.
as a deterrent, and that was gonna be my next question. I'd like more detail on what we're gonna use for counseling. I don't know if I agree with it being in-house. I don't know if it should be something outsourced, so it's a little more.
Yes. What we've done in the past is I would contact Guadalupe Regional and see if they had some kind of program, and I've given them a list. Here's 4 places that you get to choose from, and you have to bring me back documentation that you got these, however many hours we set of counseling.
But even if that student didn't, it wasn't only in football and they got hit after, they still have
Yes.
to do the counseling. That's as beneficial to me as anything.
Yes.
Absolutely, that's the end game, right?
Right,
That
definitely.
you are learning coping skills that don't mean you're choosing drugs. And really working through what is driving you to make that choice, because, you know, it's not about trying to prevent you from being in our extracurriculars. We know that connects you, to being successful on campus, so it really is that extra support, piece, but giving it weight because you do like being involved in the extracurricular. So, I agree. I think we'll need to, confirm that we have access to an outside counseling agency that would be interested in supporting that and would be interested in documenting, because that will need to be part of bringing back. It's not just, hey, I happen to know somebody who signed a form, right? It's that we really know that was enforced, because to your point, it'll get out, and it'll get out fast. Hey, just go to this person and they sign off that you took the counseling, right? And we want it to be meaningful.
Who incurs the expense of counseling?
It has been a free deal in the past.
Okay.
There has been no cost to the students. I can't promise that that will happen here because I haven't tried to reach out for those services yet.
I think that's a good thing for us to look into.
And what are they testing for? Like, what are they gonna catch, basically, is what I'm asking.
I've left that sheet out. I don't have it in. There's,
Can you just email that to us?
yes,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
There's a 9-panel test. So it'll hit most of your common drugs. Steroids is not one of them. It's a separate test for steroids. There's a separate test for spice, synthetic or whatever it is. So the 9-panel won't catch it.
I think that there may be another benefit, and it's just my opinion, that even if a student is not in a sport, that notification of a parent, that parent may be out of touch with that child, you know, wow, there's been something going on for the last couple of months. They don't know why, you know, that notification could click something and there could be a huge change at home. It could snowball into good things.
Any other comments or questions? So, what are the next steps with this? So we'll get the answers from some of the questions that you shared. We'll put together, based on that information, a final recommendation, the details of cost, detail of structure, detail of connection to counseling and any consequences, and present that to you guys. Of course, following our conversation with legal to make sure that we are fully compliant with any law, and cross-check that, and then we can bring that back to you at the next board meeting for approval. So this is an item for board approval, yes, okay. This will be changing some policy. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to HB 900 implementation.
Good evening, President Rayfield,
board members. I will be short in the interest of time, so I'll try very hard not to be verbose with this House Bill 900. But essentially, House Bill 900 is a policy change, and TASB has just released a template. I shared 8 documents with each of you of what is being looked at with House Bill 900, and I will go through the information very quickly. They are changes affecting our instructional materials and our high school and junior, all of our libraries, our campus libraries. We also have in classrooms, school libraries where teachers self-select books, and this also affects what they self-select in their classrooms and what they are putting out for our students to be able to access. So essentially, Texas Administrative Code is impacted. It's Title 13, Part 1, Chapter 4. What we will specifically be approving is Part 4.1 and 4.2 in our local policy. So I've been meeting with the librarians and discussing the implications of House Bill 900 in each Texas public school district. Their school board is responsible for approving and instituting a collection development policy, and that describes our processes and our standards by which we acquire our instructional materials and our library materials. We have to maintain materials that are appropriate for age group. So the publishers currently are in a lawsuit over this, but they want books to have ratings for libraries, just like our movies and things that we show our students have ratings. They want books to have ratings as well. If they're mature materials, they're going to have specific ratings. So this is in litigation right now. Nothing has been required yet. But in our libraries, we do have standards that the librarians use when they're having book fairs and when they're putting resources out for students. So we have to come up with a library collection development policy, and we are going to have opportunity for parents to have transparency with what we have in our libraries. So with that said, there's a selection criteria that has to be done by a professional librarian. One of our campuses currently has a paraprofessional, but a professional librarian oversees her collection. That person does not purchase I'm sorry, this fly's driving me crazy. I'm attracting all the flies tonight. But our paraprofessional does not actually purchase the books. The librarian at the high school purchases the books with her input. So that is one of our processes already in place. One of the things that we also have is a public-facing catalog. Our Destiny catalog will provide access on our website for all parents to click and see whatever our books are that we currently have in our inventory. So parents will be able to have that on our website. We're in the process of making a library collection site for parents to easily see the information. Campuses, all teachers will have to have a list of the library books that they have in their classroom, and that also will have to be accessible by all parents. That's part of House Bill 900. So communication with parents, we're going to be transparent. We're going to make sure that the parents are aware of these policies, how they can review resources and materials, and what those timelines are. Reconsideration policy, so if a parent says, I don't want that in your library, I don't want that in your classroom library, we have reconsideration policies in place where we go through a review process to listen to the parent's concern, select a committee that's going to be responsible for reading and reviewing the book, and then making a response available for the parent of whether or not we feel that the book needs to be removed or not removed. And then, again, certified librarians have to be responsible for this at each of our campuses, for evaluating our collection and being a part of the process of the collection development policy. So there are 2 artifacts that I included. TASB just released their template this month, hot off the press. There are sections of EFA local and EFB local that we have jurisdiction to determine. I highlighted those for you in yellow, what those allowances were for us. So in EFB, we're looking specifically at instructional resources and library materials. It asks us to designate a point of contact for who will be reviewing the information for the parent concerned. And where will these materials for reconsideration be available? So we have to say in a district office and on our campus website, or one or the other. I would suggest both for parents. Putting things on our campus website is simple and easy to access. But also, if a parent comes to central office, we want to make sure that those things are available there. So this is our EFB policy. And then who is the reconsideration committee appointee? The person that will be organizing those would be the chief academic officer, and they would have 10 days within the timeline that a reconsideration request is given to convene a committee. Then after the 10 days, the other areas that we have leeway with is how long does the committee have to review material? 30 days, they get the materials within 30 days, they have time to read it, within 60 days we give our response. So the question is, what happens to the resource that the parent is wanting to have reviewed? It's in circulation until it's proven not to be a worthy resource. So that's a point that we want to make sure parents understand. We do a very good job of reviewing our resources. Our librarians are amazing. They screen their book fairs, they screen every publisher that they're reviewing and purchasing materials from. But with House Bill 900, we have to make sure that we're being transparent. So there are a lot of documents to review, and I want to make sure that you're well informed. Since CASB got our template to us, we filled out the things that I highlighted in yellow for you to review. If there are concerns about the number of days or the timeline, we have time to change that. In June, I will put forth an action item to accept the policy as presented with the changes that were outlined tonight. So in your artifacts, your exhibits, you have House Bill 900 checklist. This is from our Texas State Library and Archives Commission, and it shows all the things that were being recommended for a good practice. So we followed all of those. We put together our Navarro ISD Library Book Selection Guide for you to review, the sample of EFA local and EFB local with those proposed implementations from our district highlighted in yellow, and then our request for reconsideration instructional resources. That's what the parent is going to come and get from central office or on our website. The checklist for reconsideration instructional resources, that's the committee meeting, the committee reviewing the material, the committee giving the response. And then we also have to provide notice of use of an electronic resource. So we have ebooks for students to check out as well. We have to review every resource that a student can access through a school library or in a classroom that's instructional or for purposes of reading. So it's a lot of information in a very short time frame, but do you have any questions about House Bill 900 implementation?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, it's two in one, but you still have Destiny for the library cataloging. Are you using that, doing the outward-facing piece for families to search, be able to search the library on the outside, and then are you incorporating the classroom libraries into that, or the classroom libraries are going to be on paper? I was a little confused in how you were stating like it's going to be available in the library if people want to see it, or you're incorporating that into that outward-facing.
So we will do the Destiny because we'll have to barcode those things in the library. So if the teacher is purchasing materials with our instructional monies and putting them in her classroom, our inventory for our adopted materials is already done. This is, if I want to create a...
Right, for the library's already done.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
really speaking to the classroom libraries.
Correct.
Because you're saying if they're buying them with district funds, are we not allowing teachers to just add other books or not? Because I know in some cases we do, or teachers do. And
We do,
Okay.
and there's been some recent things that we need to be looking what teachers are bringing to the classroom too. So there has to be a process for if a teacher wants to build a classroom library, it has to be transparent and outward facing for parents to know. So teachers are gonna have a conversation with campus administrators. I wanna build this library, these are the books I wanna bring, because we know there was a Red Riding Hood story that got released on one of our social medias that there was an incident about the wolf being killed with a gun. Well, the traditional fairy tale, those are pretty graphic, and parents take issue with that. So that was not our instructional resource. Our amplified material did not bring a gun into the story. That was the resource the teacher brought to the classroom that caused the controversy. So that's one of the conversations we're having with teachers. We do want them to have autonomy in selecting their instructional resources for their libraries, but they have to follow this screening process through House Bill 900 in order for us to support them. The teacher.
So her
Yes.
question is related to the Destiny
Yes.
barcoding. So will we have those classroom libraries that the teachers have spoken with their campus administration, everybody has agreed, yes, those 30 books are gonna be available for kids to check out, will they all be barcoded into Destiny?
Into Destiny,
So as a
they will be
parent,
seen.
I know what's in my child's classroom as well.
That's the simplest way,
Okay.
even though it's time consuming for our librarians, that is the simplest way to do it.
And is
'Cause
that what,
then-
is that what we're saying we're recommending?
Yes.
I guess that's really what the
Yes,
crust of my
that's the
question is.
Are we
is,
doing that?
Yes.
Are we just as if we were creating the paper list of the classrooms, which I understand is also acceptable, it just makes it more difficult to get, because then I have to go to the library and ask for that list, but if it's in Destiny, so that's great.
Destiny is an easy product to use, and most of the time, books are duplicated. We already have it in our Destiny system that they want to put in the classroom libraries, but a simple way for a teacher is I type up a list and I give it to you, and you put it on my webpage, or you put it on my campus website. That would be simple for a teacher, but a effective maintenance would be the Destiny. And it does, so sorry. That was a verbose answer to a short question. Any other pieces? I know you have many agenda items and we have guests here, so I don't want to
Any
take
other
that.
questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So moving on to budget timeline.
Okay, everybody's favorite subject. I'm bringing, there's several things on the agenda tonight related to this, and I'm gonna kind of cover them as we talk about the planning calendar here. It's a little simpler this year in terms of, we're not waiting on the legislature, for action, which is one of the reasons as part of the process I've kind of moved up, to request, an approval of salary scales this evening, based upon the recommendation from the compensation committee, and a slight change that we made based on the changes on TRS active care, that were, published recently on what their new, rates were for the next year. So, in light of that, I handed y'all out this, budget worksheet that, shows where I'm currently projecting where we will stand. I will say this year I have been, aggressive on my revenue projections, in terms of compared to what we have in this year. As you can see, we should have, the two columns I would concentrate on is 23, 24, my projected numbers, which is the third column, and then 24, 25, the projections. As you can see, 23, 24, based upon what we had approved during the year and where we started, we should have been close to almost about an $800,000 to $900,000 deficit. As you can see, with the increase in enrollment and other numbers that have increased, and that increased our state aid, so we are in a much better position than I anticipated. For 24-25, I have used the demographic report to project out revenue. Use those numbers from our demographer to come up with the enrollment projection, use those enrollment projections to come up with our projected ADA. Used a tool from Moat Casey to project other special populations that we have, that they put out just in the past month. Based upon that, I've come up with those revenue projections. The property tax revenue, I'm projecting based upon those current estimates that we were given in April from our appraisal district. I am still waiting on adjusted numbers from them because I am still not sure of where we stand on frozen taxes. I can't get a really good answer from anybody yet. And so I'm using numbers that came from 2023 that were supposedly finally accurate at that point when it was submitted with those adjusted numbers. So based upon that, we believe that the dollar increase for that, what the compensation committee asked for was that dollar increase on certain groups, plus the 4% on top of that, 4% for everybody else across the midpoint. That is built into this budget. In addition, all the additional teachers that have and positions that have currently been approved are built into this budget, along with I've now gone through everybody's requests, sat down with those, that needed to go through what they needed for next year's budget, and those numbers are all built in, and at the moment, we are still in a positive position for next year based upon those projections. So I'm very comfortable in dealing with the salary change and going with what we project. Anything past this next year, I will say is up in the air. We don't know what the legislature will do. And a lot's gonna depend on that, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. We know almost as soon as we're in the process, we're gonna be in the legislative session, and start at the end of the year, and we know where that will head. So, any questions?
Questions? Comments?
Okay, sorry, I have one question. So I know the legislature, we're not gonna know, so obviously you have the deficit number, but then the year after that, it jumps up pretty big. Is that just a whack, which is fine if it is, because again,
It's a wild, yes,
you took a wag at a number.
yeah, it's one of those things of.
Cause you're right, you're not gonna know, but I'm like, wow, that really jumped up considering, the other years, even the year after, it drops back down to around the 200, which is typically where we are.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten into an analysis of it to see why that one suddenly pops like it does.
It's probably, I would say, related to our growth projection, but also the biennium, right? That first year, you're getting that jump, and then the second year, you lag, you fall off. So.
And that could be it. I'm using Omar's spreadsheet to do the projections, so I'm going off his numbers, and that's where it fell.
I trust Omar.
I do too. As I've said many a day, if something ever happens to him, I don't know what the entire state of Texas is gonna do for projecting revenue for school districts.
Any other comments, questions?
We were pleased to see this, as I've shared with the board, over the course of this year when we've met as superintendents for Region 20 and talked about who will be in budget deficit. That has gone from 50% to almost 80% of people admitting that they will have deficits for their budget. And so to be in a positive at this point or close to even really is a testament to the fiscal responsibility of this district, the board being very aware of staying competitive with salaries, but also being cautious. And Paul does an amazing job, as you know, staying on top of our finances. And so pleased to see and pleased to have my hand down at this point when they ask who's going into deficit.
You're one of the few.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I will say, this is the first year I've been here where I haven't projected a deficit to start with. So every other year we've started off as a deficit, but we've managed to come out in the end okay.
Yeah. And later we will be talking about some reserve positions that would take us out of that. But as Paul and I discussed, those reserves are happening if you have growth past our projection. And so if that does happen, you are seeing increased weighted daily attendance that would offset. So something to be aware of as we look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on into reports, with the first item being the SHAC report.
So I've had the distinct pleasure of working with our SHAC committee this year, and it takes a village to develop our wellness plans and policies. So there are a lot of people here tonight that are going to be presenting. This is an annual requirement. We are talking about our school health, and we're also talking about our wellness initiatives across the district. So there are multiple parts of this. Carlette is also involved in this, and she has to complete what is called a triennial assessment. She's gone. She texted me, I'm so sorry, she would normally be here with us. But her piece talks about our food and nutrition services and what we do for our students as far as promoting healthy food choices. Rod mentioned it in his department, what they do for nutrition and helping our students to understand what wonderful things we have here in our area as far as farm produce and local homegrown items. So the accomplishment of our shack, we meet quarterly, we meet 4 times a year. I think that we've really done a good job in looking forward and thinking about long-term goals for our district and our employee wellness and our employees' mental health and well-being. I think we've done a good job with our calendar, looking at how our teachers need specific times in the year for regrouping, some time to work in their classrooms that help with that. But beyond that, there are some individuals who are going to share with you tonight some of our new initiatives that we're going to move forward with next year through the SHAC committee. So this is a holistic collaboration, lots of input from many different people, including our community members, and there's been inclusive planning that's going to be incorporated into our district improvement plans and our campus improvement plans as required. So with that said, I'm going to let our first guest, this is Becky Schrader, she's with the Texas Department of State and Health Services, talk a little bit about what we're doing with our community partner.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I am Becky. I work for the Department of State Health Services. I'm a public health nurse, and I'm officed in Seguin. And so I work with the shacks throughout the district, and so I've had the privilege of coming to the shack here, and we're trying to just make sure things are followed, things that are from state regulations, and also just some of the things that we can provide as the state. We can provide some training opportunities. I did bring some information on vaping. There is curriculum that's already established for some Mind Matters or vaping, things for fentanyl. And so like Tucker's Law, you'll be needing to figure out some kind of curriculum for your kids starting doing that next year. Also, we do immunizations, and I do STD testing, but we don't talk too much about that with this, but we are promoting the sexual education in the schools. And so, but I do free training or free testing and treatment as needed. So I've been working a lot with suicide prevention, and so I can do a 1-hour community for any parents or any teachers if you're interested in that. Okay, so thank you.
And Becky has been a great resource for what's available in our community. There are many things in Seguin with Bluebonnet Trails, with the Seguin Respite Program that our parents are starting to find out about. We also have a TECHI program that's an online counseling and support program that we currently use. It's free through a grant, and many of our students have taken advantage of that, and we're getting counseling services provided to them outside the school walls, but via a computer, a virtual counselor. Now we're going to move into our campuses, and I've asked each of the campus principals to talk a little bit about their initiatives that they are doing at each of their campuses, so I'll let Mrs. Wilson go first.
Good evening. In addition to the daily physical activities that take place throughout recess and PE classes on our campus, I just wanted to emphasize that we also have a weekly health concept in PE, like washing hands, the importance of food serving sizes, screen time, sleep, and the importance of being active. So those are things we are supplementing into the curriculum for PE. We have brain breaks in all of our classrooms. We do fun runs like the Panther Run and the Jingle Bell Run. We have our track and field day, character education, plus monthly lessons with our social worker, small groups with our social worker, and we have the Connection School Counseling Program that's joining us to do lunch bunches all year round, which is wonderful. We have well-rounded food choices, Red Ribbon Week, Special Olympics, and we have partnerships with community members like the Masonic Lodge, who recently donated toothbrushes for all of our first graders.
Good evening.
At the intermediate campus, we as well have the daily physical activity with recess and PE classes, the Go Noodle brain breaks. We have the fun runs such as the color run, reindeer run, field day. With our character education, we are using the Leader in Me curriculum as well, and our counselor also does the monthly lessons. The well-rounded food choices offered to students breakfast and lunch, employee relaxation station in the workroom, Red Ribbon, anti-bullying, cyber safety. We started the Kindness Club this year. At our campus, we have Special Olympics. And in addition to that, our counselor does temperature checks with our staff and students multiple times a year. We have our SHARE program with 5th grade and Child Safety Matters with 3rd grade.
Oh, thank you. And I'm going to fill in for Mr. Morales. He's at a softball game this evening. So first of all, I want to say that our junior high has the privilege of being outdoors every day. That 1949 building that we have doesn't help them, you know, if they go from building to building. I think that's very healthy for them to have that walk between class. I also think it's really healthy what they do at lunch, even though it requires maybe some more structure for those games. They're playing on pavement that's not necessarily steady pavement, but we were in the process through SHAC of purchasing equipment for our junior high to have at lunch for their lunch time, because we know it doesn't take them much more than 10 minutes to eat lunch, and then there's 20 minutes of fun. And we're trying not to mess up that nice new turf out there, so the kids are staying off of the turf. But they do have athletic and PE classes that are functioning well, large classes, and as we're building the master schedule and looking at the numbers of students, we really encourage them to jump off at junior high and get involved in the extracurricular. All kids, even if they have athletic abilities or not. There is a health course. Mrs. Herzog is our health teacher. All students take this health course. It is a high school credit. We have CPR instruction. We purchased, just last year, I purchased Mrs. Herzog some new mannequins to do the CPR practice with, and we have people on our staff that are certified. They can do the CPR training, and we want kids to have that CPR certification. It makes great babysitting advertisement if you are CPR certified. They also have Special Olympics and character education. They're doing things daily on their announcements about good choices. I love the pledge that junior high says every day. I can't say it from memory, but it talks about the being good characters, making good choices, and setting good examples for others. In the cafeteria, they do have well-rounded food choices, and the kids like to eat lunch in our cafeteria. We have a lot of junior high students that eat there both for breakfast and for lunch. We do basic first aid training with them, and Stop the Bleed is one of those other pieces that we do that's required. We do those during their tutorial period. We also have Red Ribbon Week, anti-bullying. Our Stop It program is one of the programs that the students can use to report bullying concerns, and they do. The junior high kids are really quick to put information in there, and they utilize it in your high. And then we do cyber safety. Mrs. Gissendanner, who's going to speak in just a moment, did a great job with the faculty, talking with them about how to look for issues with cybersecurity and social media and all of those other pieces. We also do the Child Safety Matters, which is our sex education program, and then we have a student safety course that they learn the basics of looking for concerns with both mental health and physical health. So now Mr. Scarborough will give us an update on high school.
Okay, I'm just going to add a couple of things to some of the bullet points up there. In our athletics and PE classes, our coach this year, Coach Clatt, has really focused a lot on the mental side with our students in the PE, in addition to just the physical side. It's good to see some of that being brought in. On the Red Ribbon, anti-bullying, and cyber safety, we kind of re-roll out Stop It about midway through the year, and we definitely saw an increase in the reports, which obviously helps us out. Ironically, it wasn't just at our campus that we saw an increase in those reports, so it was around the district. So that helped that reporting to us. We recently completed the SHARE program and the sex education part. It's interesting in the hallways to hear the conversations when the kids come out of those classes and see some of the things they are shown during those classes. We just did Stop the Bleed today, actually, in our tutorials, so students got to do all that. And one I forgot to add up here, kind of outlet for our kids, the number of extracurriculars we have. For a lot of kids, that is their chance to go and do the thing they want to really do. And so it provides such a good mental outlet for them there at the high school. So here's Ms. Gittendar.
only a fabulous instructional technologist, she's also very involved in wellness and health. And so she's going to tell you a little bit about our employee wellness program initiatives.
Good evening. Our Worksite Wellness Committee was established this year. We already had 10 staff members from across all 4 of our buildings, and including central office staff such as myself and Carla. This initiative started based on staff conversations that I had mainly in my role as an instructional technologist, greeting staff and getting to know them at the start and end of PD. And during those professional development sessions, there were a lot of questions and people just sharing and looking for community amongst staff members to help talk about workouts and nutrition, or just find someone that they could walk with after school. And so based on that need, I started reaching out to staff to see who would be interested to serve as a committee member. And we've developed a set of 10 goals for the 24-25 school year. One of our focuses will be mental health. Education can be challenging, and we know that can have an impact on teachers. So we want them to know that they're well cared for and be able to realize what they can utilize throughout the year. Our insurance comes with a lot of free incentives that are being underutilized just because people aren't aware. So one of our major campaigns will be bringing resources that are free and already available, as well as some fun monthly challenges to connect staff across all of our campuses, and trying to partner with our insurance to have our reps not just come in to sign people up every year for enrollment, but really expand on what they can provide us as a district. And we're creating all of this just to deepen our sense of community. And I know all of the committee members have expressed to me that we view this as being a bonus component of working at Navarro, and this can be a great highlight of being compensation of being a staff member in our district. Thank you.
So some final pieces. WellStat is our wellness school assessment tool that we use to evaluate the effectiveness of our programs. And this is one of the tools that we use for our triennial assessment. So every 3 years, the state requires us to evaluate how we're doing with each of these wellness initiatives. So you have a slide that it has 2 lines. One is where the state expects us to be, and the other is where we are as far as our initiatives. Our scorecard is a 100 by the WellStat standards. So our district score is on the last page, overall district policy score, 100. Our total strength score is a 100. So I think by seeing the different members that are here tonight and listening to our initiatives, you can see that this is important to each of us. And I thank Mrs. Schrader for all you've done this year attending our shacks. Our shacks in the past have been small attendance, so we're really trying to increase the capacity of this particular committee. We combined it with DEIC this year, which helped, but I do want to encourage more community members. I led shack this year just simply because we did not have a parent that wanted to take that lead, but it should be led by a parent. So I'm really trying to recruit, and I hope with all the initiatives that we have in place and the wellness program that we are also doing with our employees, that we'll see increased participation moving forward. So we will be doing an annual update every year and bringing back to you our progress and our goals as our program expands. And also, again, I want to thank the guests. Thank you, Mrs. Gissenbetter, thank you, Mrs. Schrader. Thank you, principals, for being a part of this. And are there any questions?
Any questions, comments? Great job, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we're going to move on to the campus activity reports. Any questions or comments regarding those? Okay. We're going to go on into the superintendent's report, starting with enrollment.
All right. So you received the snapshot of enrollment on 5/4/24, and as of today, the elementary has gone down 2 students to 671. Intermediate has stayed the same at 560. Junior high has stayed the same at 568. And our high school has gone down 3 students to 662. We are still at 94.44% attendance, so we are staying within the parameters of our budgeting. I want to move on to our calendar of events. We are utilizing our new website platform to showcase our district calendar. And this is the time of year where we are celebrating and finishing things out. We'll start tomorrow with our Kinder Awards and music performance, our Powder Puff football game. Wednesday, we'll have our intermediate field day and our senior walk and class photo. We'll be celebrating with Powder Puff football, or volleyball rather, sorry. And then Thursday, we'll have another day of intermediate field day, our last day of school, which is a staff and student early release, as well as our intermediate award ceremony and senior declaration day. On Friday, it'll be our last day with staff, and then we'll have graduation at 8 p.m. And our state solo and ensemble students who are performing in music for UIL will be performing for the next few days, that Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. They are listed to perform. And then, of course, we have Memorial Day. As was mentioned previously in the athletic improvement plan, we are seeing our summer programs expand. We have baseball camp for 4th through 6th grade that will start the following week. The summer strength and conditioning camps beginning. Baseball camp for 7th through 9th grade. Volleyball skills camp and additional summer strength and conditioning throughout. And finally, I will close my report with a bond update. So officially, I get to celebrate with you all. We sat in this room and the board very bravely called for a $120 million bond. And we set out to educate the community about the bond and what it would provide. And we had our canvassing, and it's great to officially be able to tell you that indeed all 3 propositions passed in our bond. I did share some information from Mo Casey regarding the bonds from this particular session. You can see here that Texas voters approved 72% of the 201 bond propositions on the ballot from 117 school districts during the May 4th election. One thing to note is that the propositions that were athletics-based have struggled in the past and continued to struggle. Out of 45 propositions, only 30 passed, but I'm proud to say ours did. So you can see there are some of the stats on bonds. So again, we did see Proposition A, Proposition B, and Proposition C passing. And so what I have up here is that bond timeline. I do want to let you know that we met immediately after the passage of the bond and started to speak about this timeline and make sure that we were still on track. Starting this month, we've been talking design work for the new elementary and the high school athletic facilities. Some of the action items we'll take today are in relation to that. We also started to discuss the safety and security enhancements. I'll be meeting tomorrow to speak about some camera work for exterior safety, the chiller replacement for high school, as well as the junior high, intermediate, and elementary refreshes. Construction is set to begin in 2025 on the new high school athletic facilities. Substantial completion of the high school is still scheduled for November 2025, and the plan at this point is to move high school in on that second semester of January 2026, so that that particular class would have a semester in the new building. The plan with that would be that we would focus the build of the facilities for athletics to focus on baseball and softball first, so that potentially those students would be able to use those facilities if we are on timeline, and then follow with the completion of the other facilities so that they're ready the following year. Junior high would move in the following August, giving us that semester to be able to go in, do a deep clean of the current high school facility and rebrand that facility, as well as make sure that all of the athletic facilities are prepared and ready to go for use at the junior high level. We would then see the new elementary construction taking place with a planned 2027-28 school year of the new elementary opening off-site. Again, that would mean that the current intermediate becomes an elementary, both schools serving 2 through 5, and then the current elementary becoming the early childhood center. And so we are confident with the timeline we proposed, and in the decisions we make tonight and going forward, we'll see those being executed. We believe very strongly in being transparent with the taxpayers who have given us the trust to use these funds to be able to address the growth. And so we'll be adding that to our Bond at Work site as we start to see those decisions take place. Any questions?
Questions? Comments?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to publicly thank Mrs. Epley for all of her effort in getting the information out about the bond. The feedback that we got from the community with your involvement in getting this information out was outstanding, so we just really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you, and I definitely want to thank you. I want to extend my thanks to our communications officer who did a fantastic job in supporting some of the vision and direction that I gave. Our handouts, our flags, everywhere we could put information, we were doing it, and Celeste has done a fantastic job with that. And so it is a great compliment to hear people say, I knew about it, and in fact turn us away as we tried to hand things to them in the parking lot. But I already know, thank you, I already know, but that was our goal, so thank you very much. I'm very proud of the work the team did.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you. Any questions or comments on the district financial reports? If not, we're going to move on into the consent agenda. Any questions or comments on any of the items in consent?
I actually did have one question. On the donation for the elementary classrooms, there wasn't a total, it just said it was $150 per classroom per teacher. And I know we usually have totals on those when.
In this case, because they're not set on the exact number of teachers yet.
Okay, that's
They've just committed to make it $150 per teacher. So last year, I think I put it in there that it was like $7,200.
Okay.
When they did $100 per, or not, $150 per. So it should be around $7,000 to $8,000 depending on how many teachers are actually in the being there.
That's kind of what I figured the issue was. I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Donna, second by Clint. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, thank you for that brief moment. We're actually going to go into closed session, and we will come back out and take action on some items when we get back out. But the board is going into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 to discuss the duties of the superintendent. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074 to discuss the employment and resignations of professional personnel, to include assistant superintendent of human resources and school leadership, junior high school principal, teachers, and other professionals. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.072 to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 and 551.129 to consult with counsel regarding legal issues related to the creation of a pool for professional architectural services. Any related action will be taken in open session. So it is 8:50 and we'll adjourn in closed. It is 10:03, we're back in open session. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I move that the board approve the superintendent's personnel recommendations for administrative and professional employment as presented and discussed in closed session.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Hank, second by Dan. Any further discussion? Not, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Going into our action items, consider and take possible action adopting a written resolution authorizing the purchase of approximately 30-acre tract of land out of the Barbarossa House Unit 2 preliminary plat, Wildwood County, Texas, from FFS Investments, number 13 Limited. Any discussion? Comments? If not, do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve adopting a written resolution authorizing the purchase of an approximate 30-acre tract of land out of the Barbarossa Pass Unit 2 preliminary plat, Guadalupe County, Texas, from FFS Investments number 13 LTD.
I second it.
Okay, motion made by Clint, second by Hank. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Next action item, new Navarro High School request for change order over 200,000 RCO 19 RFP number 06 site permit changes. Any further comments or questions? If not, do I hear a motion?
I move the approval of RCO 019 RFP number 06 site permit change order.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Dan, second by Clint. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Consider and take possible action for additional staffing positions for 24-25.
Board members, just wanted to highlight that based on our anticipated qualifiers for advanced mathematics at the junior high level, we are anticipating needing an additional junior high math teacher, and so that request is there. Based on our fast growth, we did want to speak with you about one reserve teaching position and one reserve para position that would only be used if needed for growth needs. Also wanted to address that we already had 2 approved communities in school site coordinator positions from the 23-24 budget, but that was pending available funding. We do think that state compensatory funds could cover one of those positions for next year. That would be a site coordinator at the junior high. So that is our request for these additional positions. Any questions? If no questions, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I move that the board approve the recommended additional staffing positions for 2024-2025 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion was made by Hank, second by Melissa. Any other questions, comments? If not, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Design build method of construction for Prop B and Prop C projects approved in the May 4th bond election. Any comments, questions? Paul?
So the reason we are working on this method for these particular projects is we do want to try to get caught up with where we are on the high school construction so that we can get everything, try to get everything timed out correctly. And I'll put Derek on the spot because Derek is the one who believes that this will cut off potentially 4 months of time. And so put us 4 months closer to getting things done. So we believe in this particular instance for these particular projects, this is the most efficient method moving forward. And we will put out an RFQ for these services, and that approval for who we choose we will bring back before the board. So you will see something coming back to you once we have an RFQ response done and we've evaluated those responses.
Derek, it's on record. 4 months cut off.
4 months.
Yeah.
That's what,
Okay, any further comments or questions? If not, all those in favor? Oh, do I hear a motion? Getting ahead of myself, I'm really wanting to.
I move that the board approve the use of the design-build method of construction for those projects approved as propositions B and C in the May 4th bond election.
A second.
Okay, motion made by Dan, second by Donna. Any other comments? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Consider and take possible action to approve the ranking of architects for the creation of a pool for professional architectural services for various district construction projects and the 2024 bond projects, including possible delegation of authority to the superintendent.
I move that the board approve the recommendation from administration for the top 4 ranked architects for the creation of the professional services pool of architects for various district construction projects and 2024 bond projects based on their demonstrated competence and qualifications, and authorize the superintendent or her designee to negotiate with the top 4 ranked architects until an agreeable master contract can be reached for a fair and reasonable price, and further authorize the superintendent or her designee to execute such contracts in a form approved by legal counsel.
Second.
Melissa was just a tad bit. Motion made by Lacey, second by Melissa. Any further comments? All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. Thanks, Lacey, for reading that. Chapter book. Consider and take possible action regarding the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property.
Yeah, I move that the board authorize the superintendent to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Second.
Motion made by Hank, second by Dan. Any further comments? Not, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0. With that, we will adjourn at 10:11. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.